This episode of the Sunday Morning Chat Series is brought to you by Classy Communications PR and Advertising. Classy Communications provides public relations and marketing solutions for businesses, professionals, and nonprofit organizations. They can deliver the true meaning of your business with press releases, social media marketing, web development, email marketing, book publishing, and much more. Wherever your potential clients are, they can help you connect with them. Visit classycommunications.net to learn more about their suite of services that can help your business stand out from the rest. Classy Communications is your solution for business success.
Hello there, and welcome to the Sunday Morning Chat Series with Jesse Yoko III. And I'm your host, Jesse Yoko III. Now, the purpose of the Sunday Morning Chat Series is for yours truly to interview a plethora of positive people that are making big difference in the community. Whether they're speakers, authors, writers, business people, podcasters, athletes, entertainers, you name it, you'll hear from them first right here on the Sunday Morning Chat Series with Jesse Yoko III. Now, today we have ourselves a wonderful episode for you. Now, many of you know that I've been in podcasting since 2020, and the purpose of podcasting is to actually spread positivity, especially in a year like 2020. And this is the rest is history, and I always love hearing about other podcasters with their own businesses. And today you'll hear from a wonderful individual that I had a chance to meet recently and talking about her podcast, her fashion business. It was so impressive that I actually subscribed to her YouTube channel. Yes, that's right. Now, please help me welcome none other than Yoko Kelly, who is podcasting in fashion design. Hey, Yoko, how's it going?
It's going great, Jesse. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be a part of your podcast.
All right. And with that being said, are you ready to go?
I am ready. I was born ready.
Exactly. Born ready. I love it. And without further delay, let's chat. Now, you mentioned us having to take a look at your podcast, and it was quite interesting and impressive. And for all the happy people out there, could you give us a detail on what your podcast is all about?
So my podcast, Jesse, has to do with fashion design, I was in the fashion design business as a designer and merchandiser in LA for 20 years. And after moving to Vegas, where there is no real fashion design program, I decided that I would share my knowledge via a podcast and a YouTube channel. And for those of you who can't sit through 5 minutes on Instagram and TikTok, some of the pearls and gems that I have accumulated over the 20 years of my career. And that really is the impetus for my channel, is to share my knowledge. And there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that I want to save other young fashion designers and merchandisers.
Truly fantastic. And it sounds like that you hit the sweet spot when it comes to moving to Vegas and getting together with your podcasting and in fashion designing. And this is truly going to be remarkable. And remember this name, people, Yoko, and you get a chance to hear from her many times. Now, we all have our beginnings, whether it be podcasting or fashion designing. And you mentioned 20 years in fashion designing business. Could you actually take us to day one and how you got this venture started? Because we definitely like to hear your story about your day one.
Now, are you speaking about day one in fashion design or podcasting? Because that's a big deal.
Actually, it is a big deal. Let's do both. Podcasting and fashion designing. Let's do both.
Well, Jesse, let's start with the chronological order. How about that? Right. When I was in my early 20s, I had a dream of becoming a fashion designer, and my parents didn't have a lot of money. They were World War II immigrants. So I had to bootstrap my own career. And I, like many people, young people, I waitressed tables at night. And I went to a trade school because I had no money, which usually turns out technical people like pattern makers and graders, that type of thing. But I told myself if I had any talent, it would come out in an environment that fostered creativity. As most young kids, I grew up very left brain in an Asian family. My parents wanted me to become a doctor or some kind of a nurse, something in the medical field. But that wasn't my destiny. As I said, so I bootstrapped my own fashion design degree. I got an AA in fashion design through LA Trade Tech in Los Angeles in 2 years. And I had never had an art class the first day I walked onto campus, never, ever in my life. I was intimidated, but I believed in myself. I said I could outwork anybody. And when you're 20, you're invincible, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was sitting next to a girl who had a professional portfolio. Basically, she'd come from Hong Kong, and she had gotten a degree from Art Center, which, if you don't know, is a very prestigious school in LA. I don't remember back then, it's probably could have been $100,000 a year. It wasn't affordable for me. But she was sitting next to me because she had the beautiful sketches and the portfolio, but she didn't have the technical knowledge. So we were sitting next to one another, and we were always the top of our class. And I had to really outwork her, Jessie, to be honest, to stay at, having an A in the class. And during our senior year, we were both asked to go and interview for a job. Someone in the industry who had graduated from there asked if they would send their top 2 students to interview for a job, a design job. We both went. She got the job, to be honest with you, first, but she declined it because it wasn't enough money.
Oh.
And so I was a runner-up. And that's how I started my career. From day one out of trade school, I had a job. At that time, it paid $800 a week, which if you do the calculation, cost, multiplied for inflation, it's about $230,000 a year. So back then, it was a lot of money. I was very happy with the money that I was making right out of a trade school. So that is how I started. I started in menswear. I was in Korea 4 months after I graduated. I was putting into work and approving samples to go to salesmen. We had a sales team of about 8 salespeople. So I was approving 8 samples per style, which was about 50 styles in 4 months that I had put into work, and the rest is history. I think that, Jessie, because I didn't know anything about it, I was very creative. They had never seen anything like it. We had a fantastic year. So there you go. It's passion and a little bit of elbow grease and a lot of hard work, right? And a little bit of luck, all mixed together.
Wow, that is truly a remarkable story, and it goes to show you can come from anywhere if you had the day one, if you start, and if you have that passion, that elbow grease, and everything else. This is a definite story on what you can do if you stay the course and not giving up and just keep doing what you're doing. And Yoko, I admire that within your journey. That's truly amazing to actually hear from where it starts in day one. Really appreciate it, Yoko.
Oh, you're welcome, Jessie. When I look back on it, I wonder, how many other people can be inspired. And I just want you to know that I believe in you. If you are like me, you started out with nothing, with no background, but you have a passion and you're willing to do the work and put in the time and have a box of tissue next to you in case.
Okay.
Right? So in my YouTube channel, I put the science and soul of fashion, because there are moments when you have to figure out why you're doing it, right? So that's the soul part. And then there's the science part. Because I came from a background of 2 parents that were in the medical field, I was groomed to be some kind of a scientist. I systematized the parts of the design process that I think most designers overlook. And to quote Tony Robbins, success leaves clues. I didn't know Tony Robbins at that time, but I was implementing what I would later learn was the catch line is success leaves clues. And what do I mean by that, Jessie? I mean that there was so much work that I had to somehow figure out a system where I could figure out what was selling and what people were doing and how to figure out how to test something before the companies that I worked with committed 100,000 yards. when you're projecting, which may translate to 50,000 pieces, 100,000 pieces, if it only takes a yard, right? So these are the types of places that I worked. Unfortunately, I have to say some of it was fast fashion, which is not popular today. But back in the day when I was starting out, it was very prevalent. And so we would what's called project on styles that you were going to cut and sew, which included thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of yards of fabric and trim and factory space and things like that. So very daunting back in the day. Today, I'm happy to say we are much more conscious. We have much more information. We have AI that scrubs the internet for you. It does a lot of what I used to do organically and in person. And it helps you become a smarter designer. And that's what I teach today, is the science that I learned, so that we can become a much more sustainable industry. As you know, it amounts to about 10% of global waste and pollution. So huge part of polluting our planet.
All right. And it sounds like you had gone through different types of challenges that you faced when it comes to getting to where you are right now. And it goes to show you that the challenges that you face, it basically tests your mettle. And we talked about the different challenges and different things that have been going on. Now, what were some of the best moments? What were some of the silver linings that you got through the storms that you went through?
Well, I had a couple of them. One I'd like to address, because I think that as designers, we sometimes, if you were like me, I was in my career maybe 10 years, and I thought to myself, Jesse, what am I doing here? How am I improving the planet? How am I helping anybody by making beautiful clothes that someone will wear? Sure, it was fulfilling for me, but how was I helping anyone? And so I had this moment where a sewer came up to me, and she had been working with me for several companies. What happens is, when a sewer knows that you can generate income, they know that they will have a job and longevity in that job if they follow you. So as I moved from place to place, I had a sewer who followed me. And she came up to me one day and she said, Yoko, I just want to thank you for being the designer that you are, because it's fed our family, and my daughter is now through college. And she said, because of your talent, I just knew I could commit to making those financial decisions to keep her in college and to keep going. And so that to me was a blessing, right? Because I had been asking myself. So that was a moment. So that's one of the moments. And the other moments were when I went to a company that went public, and they recruited me. I was working at a, I guess it would be considered fast fashion collection company called Francine Browner, no longer in business.
All right.
But I'd been working there for, I think, a little over a year, and I got a call from what's called a headhunter, executive recruiter today. And I was pretty cocky. The company was Massimo Giannulli from Massimo. They called and asked me to meet them, and I said, I'm really busy. If you want to meet me, you got to come to me. I can't take a day off and go down to Orange County from LA.
Right.
So we called it the Moss Posse. He got in a limo, and there was like 5 of them that came up in a limo, met me at Stephen's Steakhouse right off the freeway, because I said, I only have an hour. And so I was being interviewed at a round robin table in a booth at Stephen's Steakhouse for about an hour. And as I said, I was pretty cocky. I was like, okay, well, yeah, I'm kind of interested. Well, I got the job, and 2 weeks later they went public after I started. So that was another moment, I think, which I would say was a jewel in my crown, if I were to have one, that I'm proud of. I'm proud that I had worked myself to the level of being recognized as a designer that could put together a collection that retailed, that got noticed by the likes of Massimo Ciannulli. So I started the women's line there, and it was quite a ride. So I'm very proud of those 2 moments.
I tell you what, you just made my mind explode. Like with those moments that you have right there, it's like similar to that. And with regards to the crown, the jewel in the crown, I'm sure that you have a crown somewhere, and you're the type of person that actually has that crown that's right there at your ready. And for you to say that you have a jewel in your crown, I'm not surprised that you do have a crown with the experience that you went through. Yoko, those are some fantastic moments that you just share with myself and the Heidi people that are watching this podcast. Fantastic.
Thank you, Jesse.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Now, you talked about that person having to go through that experience with you in the prior question. Now, let's go to right now. Let's say that there's someone out there, an up-and-coming person that's going to go into fashion designing and a possible podcast with the fashion designing. They look at you and what you've done, and they say, Yoko, you inspire me to become what I need to become. And I just want to be like you one of these days. And because you are amazing, you're phenomenal, and you really impress and inspire me to be where you are right now. And I want to be in your shoes. If someone who is new to this business, is up and coming, tells you that, what advice would you give that person who wants to be in your shoes?
Well, if someone wants to be a fashion designer, I would encourage them to cultivate left and right brain thinking, because so much of what happens in the world today in fashion design is not just right brain. A lot of it is left brain, which is why I teach the science, which you can find on my YouTube channel at Yoko Kelly. But I'll give you an example, Jesse, about how left and right brain have to work together so that you can become successful. I designed over 100 garments a month, and a lot of that went to production. In fact, they give you markers. 50%, for instance, was the marker that had to go to production. Otherwise, they scale back your the amount of money, your budget for the month, and they scale back how many garments you can make, right? And so this is how you make your money, though, is by. So when these garments go to production, this is your livelihood. You have to make sure that it doesn't end after you design it. And that's one of the things that I think designers think once they design it, it's finished. And once it's sold. No, that's really when the work begins. Because what happened one time was we had this huge order, and they told me that this one garment, which was the key garment, which if you look at my series, there's a signature outfit that if you could only sell one outfit to a retailer, that's what they should buy to get the message of, let's say it's Western, it's a Western thing. So the key signature piece was, they said, was not producible because of a pattern making issue. It would have been too costly. So I had to look at the garment, and I worked out the pattern so that the yield, which is the consumption of the fabric, went down. And I fixed the pattern so that it looked the same on the outside, but the construction on the inside was much simpler. So I was able to save this huge order. That would not have happened if I had not gone to trade school, if I had not put in the hours of making patterns by myself at night after everyone went home, because my pattern maker was not allowed to have overtime. So I would stay until midnight making my own patterns for the next day so that they could be cut and sewn. So those are all left brain functions, the analytical part, the pattern making, the analysis. The right brain part is, the creative, and which is beautiful. You've got this vision. That's the beginning. The spark has to light a fire, and then the fire is the production side, the back end side. So all of that together creates a bonfire that you have to create to get through this business and have the 20 plus career I had, Jesse. And I don't care if you're couture or if you're fast fashion today, it's very much an interplay of left and right brain. So that is my advice if you're starting out as a fashion designer. If you want to start a podcast, on the other hand, or you want to be an educator, it's important that you understand who you're speaking with. And this is something that I've learned because I'm a coach. I think it's important that you have a coach because you don't know what you don't know, which is why I'm a coach, right? But my business coach has told me that I need to know who my avatar is. I have a tendency to talk to a level that's higher than the person who's just starting out. So that's a business thing and something that I would make sure that if you're starting your own educational channel or consulting, that you really know who your customer is, your avatar. Make sure that they can come along for the ride and speak to them in their own language. So that was a big thing for me when I started out.
And I tell you, those are some wise words of wisdom for anyone that wants to be in your shoes. And whether it is for fashion design or podcasting or anywhere else, these are some solid words and golden words of wisdom. And Yoko, thank you for that. Now, speaking of you, Yoko, you talked about your YouTube channel, which I'm already a subscriber. And I was wondering, how can more people know about you, whether it be a podcast or your website or anywhere else? Where could actually go to know more about Yoko?
Well, you can go to my website, yokokelly.com, and it's got links to all of my social media. And you can also book a discovery call with me, a free 15-minute discovery call where I can look at where you are in your career and give you some career advice. And if you like what you hear, maybe we could work together and I could take it further and make a dream that you have of becoming a fashion brand, from a little sketch to, actually being on billboards and having maybe your own boutiques, worldwide or something.
I tell you, yokokelly.com. You go to the
Yes.
website, you go to the podcast, you go to many places that you can go where you can actually get that access. And it's truly remarkable to find out what this amazing person is able to do and accomplish, and some amazing words of wisdom to go along with it. Now, this question I have for you is basically the shout out portion. And it gives you the opportunity to give a shout out for people making your journey possible. If you can give a shout out to anybody that's out there that made this journey possible for you, who would like to give a shout out to?
There's so many, Jesse. I just, it's hard. And so I won't put a name to them because I don't think that would be fair. But when I was starting out and I was a nobody in the business, was at my first job, as I said, or my second or third, or, even the first few years, the men and women who would come to see me when they didn't know who I was, the salespeople that came out, the piece goods, the trim, the agents, they came out to see me even though they didn't know who I was. And they sampled yardage for me. And then when production came, they would give me a discount because I couldn't make the margins work. They'd give me a 5 or 10%. They'd cut their commission down because they believed in me. And those people, I think, were instrumental in helping me get to where I needed to go. So I would shout out to all those people that in the very beginning believed in me and gave me a chance. And there is actually one person, I don't know if she's still in the business, but her name is Barbara Strassmore. And she was like my mentor. She was the first person who gave me a chance in the junior fast fashion apparel business, junior meaning young teen girls. And I'll just tell you this quick story because it really was a pivot for me. She had already basically made up her mind on who she was going to hire for the design position at her company called Fire back in the day. And I called her and I begged her, I said, I cannot leave where I'm currently working until Friday afternoon after work at 5 o'clock. I was very dedicated. I was very loyal to where I worked. I would not take the time off and call in sick. So I said, please just wait until Friday at 5:30. If we don't have a connection, you don't like what I have to say, my designs, whatever, just please wait till 5:30. And she did. And she hired me on the spot. She said, you're my person. And so she really started me in the junior business. Before that, I was in young men's. I worked at Jimmy Z, and I worked, other first menswear company was called Permit at that time. So she started me in women's, in junior fast fashion. And so I really want to give a shout out to her, actually, Jessie. The salespeople, they're nameless faces. I could name some of them now, but there are too many. I don't want to single out one of them.
Right. Truly amazing people. And it goes to show you it's a team effort. It's a group effort to actually get the journey going along the way. And whether the people are mentioned or not, it takes a whole team and a whole community to get the help out. It certainly does. Now, I have one final question for you. And this will be addressed to the people that watch this channel and this podcast. And they're the fans that are called the happy people. And these are my people and my crew. And they always are inspired by some solid words of wisdom from the guests I have on the Sunday Morning Chat series. So if you have one more wise words of wisdom for my people, my crew, the happy people, what would it be?
Well, Jessie, you and I share some of our same spiritual beliefs, as we exchanged in our first meeting, and I think that it instantly connected us. And that is that we're here to be happy, to be joyful. So whatever it is that you're doing, make it joyful. Whether you're washing dishes or you have your dream career, just make it happy. And if you enjoy the process, you won't have to use as many tissues from the tissue box I talked about, because you will find joy in learning and you'll find joy in the journey. So that is my word of wisdom, I guess. If you don't have any problems, you're dead. You're a dead person. So pray for problems, right? Pray that you have these challenges, that you grow. And I think that, that will make for a very successful career and take you a long ways.
I tell you, Yoko, that is a perfect bookend to a wonderful episode of the Sunday Morning Chat series. And on behalf of all the happy people that are watching this episode, I take time to say thank you, Yoko, for being a part of today's episode of the Sunday Morning Chat series with Jesse Yoko III. Thank you, Yoko.
Thank you so much, Jesse.
All right. And this concludes this episode of the Sunday Morning Chat series. For more information about PR Connections, go to prconnectionsradio.com. But wait, there's more. If you want to see a plethora of podcasts that are under the PR Connections brand, go to YouTube, type in PR Connections, and you'll see a plethora of podcasts, including my podcast, the Sunday Morning Chat series with Jesse Oakley III. Feel free to subscribe, like, share, and comment on the episodes of these different podcasts. But wait, there's also more. If you want some past episodes where I interviewed a plethora of positive people that are making big differences in the community, all you have to do is go to YouTube and type up Sunday Morning Chat series. And you just type up Sunday Morning Chat series, you'll see my face. You get a chance to see the episodes. And please feel free to subscribe, comment, like, and share the videos that I've done and I did interviews with from people in 2020, 2021, 2024, 2025, and right here, right now in 2026. You'll agree that I have amazing people that have been interviewed and actually that I've interviewed, and it is truly a remarkable experience. Check out the YouTube channel, the Sunday Morning Chat series. Now, this concludes this episode of the Sunday Morning Chat series. Stay tuned for our next episode, which will take place Sunday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on PR Connections YouTube channel and the Sunday Morning Chat series YouTube channel. And until next time, on behalf of Yoko and myself, I wish you all a wonderful day. And until then, hey people, you take care of yourselves and have a great day. Bye.
The Cause Marketing Chamber of Commerce brings businesses and nonprofit organizations together to create synergistic relationships that benefit the community. Join our tribe to network with community and business partners, increase sales, improve fundraising efforts, differentiate your brand, help worthy nonprofits, and more. Become a member today. Visit our website, causemarketingchamber.com, to see how we can help you grow your business or your nonprofit organization. Click on the Join Now button at causemarketingchamber.com. Help us build a world where social responsibility is the new bottom line. PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.